Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Last week, I did a podcast, I believe it was the one you would have seen on Friday, where Mike Johnson had been telling the Republican representatives at the House and in Congress not to hold town hall meetings in person anymore because of the whiplash and the anger that's being brought to them over the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, and Elon Musk's constant tearing down of all the different agencies and all the problems that are going on, and a few other things, veterans benefits and whatnot. And I had suggested that the Democrats go out and fill in these town halls, go out and have a meeting with both Republican and Democratic voters and see what they could do for these people and see what their reaction is. Well, they tried it over the weekend. I'm sure they didn't hear it from me, but this is what happened.
A packed room of people filled Representative Mark Pocan's town hall event Saturday. Pocan came to update concerned citizens about changes in the current government, while also calling out 3rd District Representative Derek Van Orden for not updating the public about what's happening in Congress.
If you don't have town halls, if you don't have ways to communicate with constituents, you're not really doing your job.
Pocan invited Van Orden to the Belmont Town Hall that lies just minutes away from Van Orden's district, but he declined to attend. Several people at the event voiced their fears about the current administration's new policies, especially on a proposed federal tax cut, which Pocan says could affect millions of Americans who rely on Medicaid.
If my daughter loses her long-term funding, she loses her care staffing, her transportation, her activities. I don't know what we're going to do if we don't have Medicaid.
I'm 77. Have health issues.
Karen and Mark Essex live in Van Orden's district and say that they're upset at the representative for not being transparent with them.
He doesn't do any town halls, and very disappointed in that. He's not listening to us. He's not representing us.
He didn't show up, and he's unwilling to talk about the basic issues that we have.
Pocan says that it's up to the people to advocate for themselves about the changes happening in Congress.
You saw a bunch of people speaking out today, and the more we do that, the more likely we're going to have the ability to fight back against these cuts.
So Speaker Mike Johnson, while trying to get across a continuing resolution for a budget, which by the time you hear this, they'll be considering it and they'll have to vote on it, what will be your tonight from this podcast, Tuesday night. I doubt they're going to have enough votes to carry it. I mean, when you present a bill for consideration and it's enough of a bill that it has to support the U.S. government for at least until September. I can't imagine how many hundreds, if not thousands of pages that is. Who's got time to read that overnight? And yet Mike Johnson wants a vote on it on Tuesday. Between that and telling his people not to go to the town halls and then trying to spin it so that it's Democratic operatives that are disrupting these small town hall meetings. Take a listen to this.
House Republican leadership has told its members that they should be doing fewer in-person town halls, more teletown halls, as there are more protests. And this morning, Speaker Mike Johnson said that Democratic activists are kind of overtaking these town halls in their districts. I'm wondering if you could speak on that a little bit, especially as Democrats have been doing more town halls in their districts.
House Democrats are interested in holding our colleagues accountable. But these are not paid individuals, no matter how many times the speaker says it. These are Americans who are angry. They're angry that their health care could be taken away. They're angry that Elon Musk is running around firing people out of agencies that are providing services to them. And House Republicans are running scared. That's what we see. They are scared to answer the question from their own constituents about why they continue to support these efforts.
So the Dems have had enough of being blamed for everything from town hall meetings going bad to bad budgets. It seems that nobody inside the Republican Party, from the very top down, has the ability to accept any responsibility for anything that happens at any time. They like to blame history on the past administrations, and they like to blame current things on the administration. Recently, Donald Trump was quoted as having said, "Shut up about the price of eggs, just get used to it." That was not his battle cry during the campaigning. His battle cry was that Joe Biden was at fault for it, and he was going to fix it on day one. Yeah, just like every other promise that you've ever heard come out of Donald's mouth. You know, Donald's a rich guy. He doesn't care whether the price of eggs goes up or down. He doesn't care whether the stock market really goes up and down too much, as long as it's not pissing off his billionaire buddies. But the billionaire buddies are going to take a burn to it, because today Donald managed to dump the stock market another 900 points. We are now down, since the beginning of his administration, over 4,000 points in the stock market. I know how much that's costing me, and I'm sure it's costing a lot of you even more. But, you know, the Republicans, they're not going to admit to having lost the money. They're not going to say anything. And the representatives from Congress and from the House don't want to say anything because they don't have a spine. They're not going to say anything for fear of being primaried by Donald. They just don't want to have to face up to the facts that there's something going wrong. They're going to just go along for the ride, and we're all going to get a front seat to the merciless crash of their administration one of these days. So Republicans aren't listening to their people. They're not listening to anybody. They're not even listening to the federal courts. So in a recent clip, Mike Johnson blamed Democratic operatives for his town hall. Okay? Well, what do the Democratic operatives have to do with the stock market when that's not working? And what do the Democratic operatives have to do with Canada now deciding to go elbows out? For all you hockey fans, yeah, they've decided to go elbows out. Here's Ford, the Prime Minister of Ontario, with a little message for Donald.
Weeks now, we've been faced with so much uncertainty coming from President Trump. Each day brings new tariff threats. Now, President Trump is threatening tariffs on steel and aluminum. He's pointing his finger at dairy and lumber, shifting timelines, different excuses, chaos and confusion. It's hurting workers, it's hurting businesses, it's hurting investments, and it's hurting families on both sides of the border. It needs to end. That's why I've been crystal clear. Until these tariffs are off the table, until the threat of tariffs is gone for good, Ontario will not relent. We will not back down. Pausing some tariffs, making last-minute exemptions, it won't cut it. We need to end the chaos once and for all. We need to sit down, work together, and land a fair deal. A deal that gives businesses the confidence to invest. A deal that gives workers the security they need and deserve. Until then, Ontario will keep up the fight. We will apply maximum pressure to maximize our leverage. That's why today we're moving forward with a 25% surcharge on electricity exports. For the 1.5 million American homes and businesses that Ontario powers, homes and businesses in Minnesota, Michigan, and New York. This surcharge will cost families and businesses in these states up to $400,000 each and every single day. On an average, this will add around $100 per month to the bills of hardworking Americans. Let me be clear, I will not hesitate to increase this charge. If necessary, if the United States escalates, I will not hesitate to shut the electricity off completely.
Yeah, that's not going to work so well, because guess who lives in that zone? Yeah, I can see what it's going to do to our prices. You know, I get it. I'm not happy. You know, it's as soon as one of my Democratic duly elected representatives decide to hold a town hall here in my area, I'm going to be in talking to them. So let's leave it at this note. Donald claims that everything that's gone wrong is the prior administration's fault. He claims that it's been an unfair deal between Canada, Mexico, and the United States, and yet he's the one that negotiated the USMCA. He now says it's unfair. He sides with Putin on the peace talks with Ukraine. He thinks that Vladimir Zelensky is a dictator. He's about as far from a dictator as I could possibly dream. I've been around 72 years. I know the smell of a dictator when I see one, Donald. He claims that everything that's gone wrong with the world is NATO's fault. So he wants to get out of NATO. He wants to stop supporting NATO. He wants to pull the money away. He wants out of the Paris Climate Accord. He wants out of anything that would keep us in the global populace. He doesn't want to be there for Panama, but he wants the Panama Canal. He has no use for Greenland, but he wants to take it. He said one way or another, as a matter of fact, in the last comment that I heard from him. Donald has had a silver spoon in his mouth since day one and has no concept of what we, the people, deal with on a daily basis. Financially, economically, globally, he has no clue who we are, but he's going to find out soon. With that, people, I want to remind everybody that we at Unscripted Political Discourse support the 5051 peaceful, nonviolent protests and marches around the world. We're not just here in the United States anymore. 5051 has gone global, and I support them. With that, I'm going to thank you for being here. It's a privilege to be able to come to you and have you listen to what I have to say. We're just a small channel. We're just fighting for democracy. That's all we're doing. So if you would, just give me a thumbs up. It's a really simple thing. It doesn't cost you anything. It helps push the algorithm. It helps build us. It makes us bigger every time you do. It helps us get our message across to the world. So with that, folks, thank you again. I'm honored and privileged to be here. Everybody have a wonderful night. Thank you. Good night.